Of course, the United States has plans for Iceland, but because they want to transform Iceland from an independent country into a sovereign northern shield, therefore ensuring the West's AI revolution. But securing a permanent North Atlantic stronghold, then the US will need a grand plan to control all of Iceland. I present geopolitics from a different perspective. I'm also writing a book called Geopolitics for Muggles, but I have written only 30 topics. If you have any ideas, comment on your topics. I will take your name and your topic and then mention it in the book. So, the Russian invasion threat, I've talked about it in the last video, must be taken seriously for Iceland and also the United States. After all, this is a geopolitical threat to the West. But to be completely frank with you, I'm only writing these Icelandic topics just because Trump keeps confusing Greenland and Iceland. You may have seen those videos of him talking about and confusing about that on TikTok. Number 1, the magma buyout. America doesn't need soldiers on the ground and remote drones flying over Iceland's skies, but its tenderly taxpayers' money to effectively own and operate the Krafla magma energy site, therefore basically turning Iceland into a private American battery. Then number 2, the IC AI fortress. The US is moving its strategic AI factories to Iceland because it is the only place on Earth for a complex AI infrastructure to survive and thrive. Therefore, the natural cooling of Iceland and infinite power supply from the magma battery becomes so important that the United States will be able to control and keep the super intelligent AI to fight for them during a global war. Number 3, the perpetual lease. Behind the curtains, the US is purchasing for a 99-year total security lease to protect the entire country. The real meaning is to control the entire nation. But to make Iceland a reliable supply line partner, the United States effectively turned their government into a board of directors, turned the Icelandic government into a board of directors. Therefore, Washington is currently preparing to treat Iceland exactly like Alaska, but most people think Iceland is just a friendly NATO partner. Then they host a few American planes for protection, but in reality, the US views Iceland as too vital to be left alone. Therefore, it is being turned into a US colony, just like Japan. Then they use bank accounts and fiber optic wires. As of January 2026, the Pentagon has sent $12 billion in emerging technology funds, but where exactly? Well, specifically into Icelandic magma battery and data infrastructure. Therefore, today we will go through the 3 steps the United States is using on Iceland. But we can call it the paper takeover if you want to. Then the magma buyout, the AI fortress, and the end of Icelandic independence comes into a major play. But the United States isn't invading Iceland with soldiers. They don't need that. Therefore, it's invading with internet and cable warfare, but a little gentler than the Russian plan maybe. Then they will also use huge sums of money that the local business owners cannot refuse. Number 1, the magma buyout. Iceland is home to the world's only super hot geothermal magma project. It's the ultimate infinite power hack. Therefore, the United States energy giants are currently outbidding European firms, energy firms, to get to it, to control it. Then the United States will be able to fund the Krafla magma testbed. But by 2026, the United States won't just be helping Iceland, then it will own the on and off switch for the island's entire energy grid. But this is energy imperialism. If the US owns the power, then Iceland becomes a vassal state that can never say no to Washington's orders. Then wait until you see the terrifying brain that this battery power is being used to feed. Number 2, Icy AI Fortress. The modern AI is so powerful it generates enough heat. That heat can even melt a city's power grid, but Iceland's freezing air and magma energy solve this perfectly. Therefore, the US is quietly moving their strategic defense AI to Iceland. Then the brains that control the hypersonic missiles can be put into hardened bunkers in the Icelandic icy mountains. But Iceland is becoming the external hard drive of the American Empire. I don't know how the Icelanders feel about it, but however, it is the only place the US can store its super intelligence. Then the enemies of the US cannot reach it without starting a nuclear war. But once the brain is installed, the United States also need a legal wall to make sure it never leaves its control. Therefore, number 3, the perpetual lease. The United States needs a total control of the Guyuk Gap. Then the US can control the sea route between Greenland, Iceland, and the UK to stop Russian submarines from invading. Greenland is important, but Iceland is also on the important list. Therefore, Trump's confusion about these two countries is kind of understandable for a man of his age. But Washington is pressuring Iceland for a perpetual strategic lease. This would give the US total legal authority over Iceland's air and sea. Then the US will own this place for the next century. Therefore, this can be called the Guantanamo model. Iceland remains a country on the paper, but in reality it becomes a stationary aircraft carrier for the US. Then again, European nations are a bit spooked by Trump's unpredictable threats and negotiation style. Therefore, Iceland can still deny the US access to their natural resources. To summarize, the US takeover of Iceland is the most successful invisible invasion in history. Therefore, by using the magma buyout, the AI fortress, and the perpetual lease, Washington has secured the master key to the North Atlantic. Iceland is not just a NATO ally anymore, but it is the northern flank of the American heartland now. Then the American Empire can stand tall against Russia using Iceland. So if you ask me if the US wants to take over Iceland, I'd say